Hello, 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 hello. And good now to you, wherever and whenever you are in the universe. My name is Ryan Erickson. This show thing is Riffing with Ryan. And yes, I am Ryan Erickson. I think I said that. My memory is awful. And we are here today on the theme This is an Agile Coach, which is somewhat directly related to a theme that has been happening on this show and in the LinkedIn-iverse for a while. No such thing as an Agile Coach. Well, today, here in Purple Squirrel Studios in Cincinnati, Ohio, I am inviting in someone I have known for about a year and a half, surprisingly enough, and met in the Kisho Tenketsu facilitation cohort. And I am so happy to bring in to the stage and on the Purple Squirrel Cafe, Greg Franklin. Oh my gosh. Hello, Greg. How on earth are you?
I'm doing great. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Well, if you would say a moment or two about what is your relationship to Agile coaching and just tiny bit about where you are and where you do it.
Well, where to start? Many years ago, I was a web developer. I made websites. And I don't know if you heard of that term webmaster.
Oh, yes, I have.
I was that for a few people. Um, I did that for a while and sort of coding, database stuff. And then I got more into project management. I was working with an agency to work with different clients and things. I started to get kind of frustrated with that approach, and I heard about this thing called Scrum. I think it was around 2013. So not the early years, but I mean at this point, more than a decade ago, right?
Yeah,
Um,
hard to believe.
yeah, I loved it. Like I consumed so much stuff regarding that. I just loved the idea of it. I'm like, why isn't everyone doing this? So I started to apply the concepts in my projects, much to the maybe much to the frustration of others around me who had no idea what I was doing. um, but then I moved into a more kind of friendly space, and there were other Scrum masters, and it was a very nice environment. And we're talking about 20, I think it was 2013, late or early 2014, and I really cut my teeth in this place. This is a charity, Britain's largest charity.
Mhm.
We don't need to name it, but you can go look it up. Um, and we had an
Britain's
amazing
largest
setup.
charity.
We had all of these different kind of products, online products, different
Yeah.
campaigns, and different product management functions for the different customer. Well, we didn't call them customers, but you get the idea. Customer-centric type of focus, which
Mhm.
was um, really sort of exciting time, right? I learned so much in that role. I was there for 5.5 years, and then I started to look around for other opportunities, and I moved around to other things, and I was in that job. I was agile lead, where I line managed the other scrum masters and things as well, and then I moved on to be an agile coach. I went more to the kind of expert practitioner route rather than the manager route, right? So I
Mm.
was doing agile coaching in other places. I moved into another financial services company who were using
Mhm.
SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework,
Mhm.
and I got to experience that a little bit up close, which was interesting. And and I'm currently an agile coach in a kind of a medium-sized agency,
Okay.
and I do other stuff, but that's my role. That's what I love.
That is your love affair with the practice formerly known as or currently known as Agile coaching, which brings us to the topic of the day. So the folks who care about this, mostly this topic, this is an Agile coach, no such thing as an Agile coach, are, surprise, surprise, Agile coaches and or people who wish to hire them. That's been my experience. So based on that, in your vision of the world and in your heart, mind, body, soul, and spirit, what on earth, Greg, what is an Agile coach? No, I don't get to say that. It's Greg. What's an Agile coach?
What is an Agile coach? Well, where do I start? It is someone who can do coaching. And so if you're familiar with professional coaching, that is part of it. It's part of the picture. But the word coach is a bit of a misnomer in my mind. I think it could do with a renaming, because it's more than that. It's a coaching is a stance that you can take in your role. You could take a different stance, right? You could be an advisor kind of posture, or you could be a teacher. You could literally run trainings with people and teach them things. You could be just a facilitator, right? You could just facilitate good, meaningful conversations, with clear outcomes off the back of those conversations. So the sort of workshop facilitation type of stuff. So those to me are the big aspects of it. And I guess the elephant in the room is that word agile, right? So you're expected to be an expert in agility. And there are different types of agility. It comes from a world of software. I think you're doing pretty good if you know how to do software delivery. But there are other flavors of agile, right? There are non-technical agile teams, but I'm sure your listeners and viewers know um, what agile is supposed to mean, right? You have the sort of mindset, you have the frameworks, you have the different approaches, ways of working. Um, I'm a big advocate of the agile coaching growth wheel, which is it's a way of kind of self-directing, self-scoring, and sort of figuring out where you want to get to in your profession. I like it because it has lots of different competency profiles for the different types of things you might do in your role and your career. And you can go very, very deep into rabbit holes with each of those competencies, and you can dial up and dial down those things throughout your career. Really, like, I mean, for me, for example, I spent the better part of the last whole year, focusing in on the product focus side of things, the customer centricity, the focus on value being delivered and the measurability of the value, and helping others to get better at those things, which is really product management, right? It's excellence in product management. So that is an aspect of agile coaching, and that's what I've dialed up in the recent months and last year or so. But there's so much to it, and I wanted to get into another aspect of this, which I think um, agile coaches are largely misunderstood. I think when someone thinks about hiring this type of person, they often don't really know what it means, um, or they just haven't thought much about it. I think this ambiguity has been, what's the Spider-Man expression? Blessing and a curse. So, like, I think it's been a blessing for a long time, because you have this ability in your role to move about to different areas, different types of, like, tap into different skill sets and different competencies for different reasons. Do different kinds of work with different groups of people, which I think is really exciting. The problem is you become this sort of unknown quantity, and I think a lot of people have a problem with agile coaches because they're often not accountable. So people don't know how to measure the impact or the success of an agile coach. And maybe it's up to us to do that, but it's often soft skills type stuff, so kind of intangible, or even unmeasurable type of things. So that is our curse, because when the chips are down and when times are tough, we get the axe. We get the short straw. And I think things have been pretty tough in recent last, I don't know, couple of years. I think that macroeconomic level, things have been difficult. We've had a recession in Britain. We've had price inflation. They say things are turning a little bit more positive now, and I think the U.S. economy is doing pretty good now. But when things are tough, then the companies feel that, and then they look to reduce their uh, costs, basically. And I have often seen Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, those types of people they are the first to get let go. So I think that is being seen across the industry. And as a result, you see a market which is saturated with talent. Another thing about the market, though, is that you have people who claim to be agile coaches and they don't really know what they're talking about. Like they maybe don't really know um, what it really means to be agile or to apply agility in a place of business. And that unfortunately is giving us a bad name.
That sounds like a great place to start, Greg. Thank you. At this point, I'm going to cut this for a clip. Okay. Now, this is our jam session on that. Okay. So there are a few things I took from that, and the misunderstood. Agile coaches are misunderstood, and that misunderstood, and then by hiring managers that somehow are told to somebody with money and a project or a department says go hire an agile coach to HR or whatever, and there's a perception that they don't know what they're looking for, and I feel for those folks because they're kind of put in this place that agile coach. That's not some project manager, is it a business analyst? Is it? It's not scrum. It's like a super scrum master, or what is it? Um, and you think you get into that mushy place that it's yes and right. So this is part of the articulation. So um, how would you want to approach that misunderstanding? What would you say is a good way to help with this understanding of agile coaching and what it is?
Well, you could relabel it from the start. So you could say, don't think of me as a coach, right? Think of me as an advisor on business agility, or you could start with that, or you could say, think of me as a guide, your guide to team level agility.
Mm-hmm.
And if your team is delivering and you think that they're not very effective, then maybe an agile coach can come in and guide them. So agile guide. I think some people have proposed that as a new label.
Yeah, a value delivery guide. So do we even need to use the word agile?
Mm.
Why is this? Because it almost seems like to those who are out there maybe looking for work, and those who I know who are looking for work, agile seems to be a disadvantage when you go in with that.
Bad word, right? It's
So
got baggage. It has baggage.
yeah. So how would you describe what you do to someone? Or maybe because I was asking the other side of this, so I'm asking you to answer the question again, Greg. So apologies
Yes.
for that. If you could use neither of those words, neither agile nor coach, what are you looking to? What need does that fill? Is it like I said, value delivery guide, or is it process expert, or all of the above, or none of the above? How do you, you know, what song do you sing, man?
I think there are different levels, but you could have multiple labels. So you could say organizational change expert.
Be careful.
You
Be
could
careful.
say, I like that value focused
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Um, I think I posted something on LinkedIn a couple of days ago about this topic around the renaming.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, avoiding those two words. So
Well,
transformational uh,
you see how
advisor.
tough it is. You see how
Yeah.
tough it is because so what do I do? What do I want to do? What have I become good at? What is my practice? What is the profession I am in? right? If I'm an individual helping others uncover better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others, part of that document that shall not be named, the so, and this I think comes down to the other question you put in there, the other topic around measurability, value, and helping teams of teams and organizations come together and maximize the value, however it's defined, which that's a whole other conversation about value concept. But yeah, however the organization defines value, you have been hired to help them get more of it, right? And not on one team, but on many teams. So if that's your job, how do you know you're doing a good job of it?
That's a tough one, and I have given it thought, and I haven't got my cheat sheet with me, but I think there are
This is improvisation, man. No cheat sheet.
yeah, there are
You
some
can't read the music.
things. There are some things like the people with whom you are engaged can give you kind of a version of 360 feedback around, and I guess this would be qualitative, right? Anecdotal or
Mm-hmm.
qualitative feedback on the impact that person is having.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about them that is having any impact? I think ability of your clients to adapt to change could be a good one, but I'm not sure how do you measure that? I'm not
How do you
sure.
measure that? Yeah, we know we can talk about it. We can say that's what we want to have happen.
Yeah.
And well, how do you know how good you were at that? And
Mm,
as much as I detest being measured by someone else's standards, of course, that this whole
mhm.
independent autonomy thing, that for myself and for you and for whoever is in this practice, how do I know I am doing a good job? And you said that feedback you get, but measurement.
I
How
think
am I
there's
measuring the development
I think there's a few
of a
things. I mean,
team?
at the very basic level, like if you just think about the team level,
Mm-hmm.
there are some things that you want to happen, and you want the team to be self-managing. You have certain things that you like to do as a team and each thing has a reason, these events, right? So one could be when I'm not around, are these things happening, right? So one of the things, like my job is to make sure that these important events happen, right? Planning, retrospective, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
regular feedback loops like the daily stand up. If I'm there making sure they're happening, that's one thing. If I'm running them and I'm the only one talking, that's probably a bad metric.
Yeah.
But if I'm there and they're happening, that could be a good metric. If I'm absent for 2 weeks and they happen, I think that's a good measure.
Yeah.
That means that the value has been shown, right? The value of these things have been shown. If it's like you need to have a pull, you want to have a demand for your services in that context.
Mm-hmm.
If you're there and you're not wanted, that's going to be a tough gig.
Well, if you're not wanted, it's going to be hard to keep a gig where the folks don't want to,
And it's
and the folks you are serving.
people often are very skeptical, right? They think it's the latest fad, even though it's 2 decades and more,
Mm-hmm.
it's been around for a long time. They just think it's a passing fad, and it's
I'll
just
wait
the
this one
flavor of
out.
the month.
Yeah, I'm going to
Um,
wait this one out.
measurement, yeah. So other measurement, I swear I had some other really good ones, but I can't.
Well, no,
Can't.
it's also the struggle with that, and you also mentioned this in your solo of that the profession has been watered down in by many different factors. Of course, one can say the certification mills. One can say hey, all you need to do to become an agile coach is go into LinkedIn and edit your profile. Because there's no universal standard, right? You get a PMP, people know what you do, right? It is lingua franca in the business world. Say what you will about traditional project management, the PMI has done a great job of communicating that discipline. Agile coaching, not so much, right? And
That's correct. Yeah.
so, but the fact is that, okay, there's 100,000 folks, half of whom may have a decades of experience, in a full stack, helping teams, maybe in management, maybe as a scrum master, different places, to be able to have this holistic view of an organization, and how might the different people within it create value effectively, right? And be able to articulate that. I mean, so this superstar of an agile coach, as we think about, like, oh, that's what I think an agile coach is, someone who does those things. And then there's someone who comes in, hey, I had my CSM, got a gig. I took a couple classes. I took some IC Agile classes. Maybe I did this or that and the other, and I'm 3 years in, 25 years old. Now I am an agile coach, and in a year I will be an enterprise agile coach and be raking in the bucks. And so there's the market is full with that.
Yep.
What do we do about that? As practitioners in this space, how might we have a positive influence on the standard of the profession? I'm in the mood for asking harder questions today, so welcome to it.
I would say the best way to address that, well, it could be that there are these trends that go up and down. So it might be we're in a kind of a bad period and things will shake out. I've found, though, that the best thing you could do is to connect with people, connect with other professionals, and make yourself known, but just connect with people. Find those other good ones.
Find the
and
others. Well, but
and
this is
yeah,
affiliation, right? It's you come to know people, and since
yeah.
they're,
And I think engaging. So I mean, online is ubiquitous now. Everyone's online.
yeah,
LinkedIn is very active. Reddit is active. There's other areas. Just engage with that stuff
yeah.
and address dysfunction when you see it, or address what do you call it? Address the the kind of
Call out the BS, maybe. Is that what
the
we're?
BS. Yeah.
Yeah. Challenge each other in the
Mhm.
service of the profession, right? And
Yes.
don't be afraid to make trouble. Maybe
Mhm.
that's part of it. Um,
And
and
ask difficult questions, and challenge people, in the way you have to me, right? Which is like,
mm,
how is your success measured? I thought of another couple of them, by the way. I
mm,
think, do my if you say my clients or my team, like, do they understand how to measure value? Do they understand the goal? Do they understand how to measure the delivery? Like,
mhm,
these measurements can be helpful. It's not the be all and end all, but
mhm,
if they can understand what is the value they're delivering, how are they valued as a team,
mhm.
and is that measurable? If they can
Yeah.
understand that, I think that's a measure. That's a measure of my success.
Well, sure, and I think this also poses a challenge in large organizations. Anytime when you have a company that is maybe only 15 people or something like that, the engineering team, the Scrum team, development team is that ideal size, probably around 7 or so. And that they because there's only so many people, they probably have a really good idea of the whole conversation about the whole product. And likely on that team, they know what the revenue numbers are. And there's an awareness of sales, and there's
Yep.
awareness of marketing. And anyone on that team could probably, with not too much effort, take a sales call or take support call or know who does this and does that and what, and be very integrated into the business. And this the unicorn of cross functionality, right? And then when you're in a company that has, even let's say 150 people, let alone 150,000, you know, how many teams, how many groups are there in between the market facing folks and the folks who are in the back end? Uh, Again, in the bank, they're running the mainframe operations. you
Yeah,
know,
stay in your lane, right? Stay in your
yeah.
lane. I
How
think
and this is what is the value of my team, and what part do I play in terms of getting this person's credit card to them, or accepting their payment, and this is the whole build am I building a cathedral or am I laying bricks, right?
mhm. Yeah, I think the enterprise, and I have experienced the sort of enterprise size companies. It's a whole other kettle of fish, isn't it? Like the navigating that organization is its own. It's almost like its own full-time job,
Yeah.
and understanding it and knowing what works. Often it's the relationships that get things done in those places.
Mm.
If you are someone who's in a very large organization, you need to make a concerted effort to forge relationships, and then the right ones,
Yeah.
the ones that are going to have an impact. And
Hmm.
you have to think about that, your connections to people and the informal connections to people.
This is one of my favorite topics. Is your informal authority.
Hmm.
And this is the whole thing about being a true leader. That thou shalt be a true leader, because the Scrum Guide says you must be a true leader. And what the is that? And because that's the idea of how much legitimate authority, how much positional authority do I have to say, do this, do that, do the other, and to have built-in respect, right? And oftentimes, again, agile coaches and scrum masters, we are contracts. We're on contract. So by nature, we have no positional authority. And at best can hope for a level of respect and influence based on how we play on the field or on stage. Um, so
I think you can
this
you
is
can often, in that scenario, though, you can often be given you can have the benefit of gaining respect automatically because you're a contractor, because you're an external party. You come in and you're perceived as an authority or as an expert, um,
there you go.
which I think can be a blessing for that scenario when you come in to do a job. Um, but
A
when you're
story that gets told about you, right? You're
yeah,
saying
and
when you're a permanent employee, that's maybe a bit different, right?
yeah, or you're already there and you got promoted, and they're asking you to come in and fix some stuff like
Mm.
that could be a more difficult task because they just know that that's just Greg from IT or whatever.
I worked with Greg in the mailroom. How does he does it? Why's he bossing me around? Whatever.
Yeah,
Then that, and of course, bosses being thing.
I've seen that as well. It's a little bit like teaching my daughter to play piano. Like,
Yeah.
I can't teach her to play piano. She's not going to listen to me. I need to get a piano teacher in.
Yeah. And that's something that if we had time to do a hang, I would want to go into. I think now is probably a good time to bring this home. The last song of the set or whatever. I got to figure the metaphor out, but um, I'll invite you to a solo on this. One thing that I would like to do for me and for just my desire in the world is to create these kind of space that is not only safe but strong, brave, kind of the quality of a place where a conversation can happen that has reputational risk, and that the risk of harm, which, well, when you have risk of harm, there's danger. So I want to create a space for dangerous conversations, and would like to have an invitation to a dangerous conversation, let's say in this community that is not a community called the Agile community, falsely. Um, so, in that vein, what is a conversation that you would want to have happen in a space like that that has either not happening now or has never happened? So,
Well, it might be happening now. I mean, I wrote some stuff down for this. I thought about some things. Peak agile, that sort of market saturation is an idea. Another thing is, another idea perhaps is agile is dead. Okay, so agile is dead. What are we going to do about it? Um, there's so many. It's like a strange world where some companies were born agile, and that's just how they are. It's in their DNA, and they don't necessarily care about scrum masters or agile coaches. Just everybody's agile. They're self-managing, self-directing. However, I think there's a lot of dysfunction in larger organizations who were not born agile. The kind of you hear them referred to as dinosaurs, or that you're using kind of old school approaches. Um, it's very hard to steer that big heavy container ship in a new direction. But then agile might be a kind of happening there, but it's always in pockets or maybe little projects. Um, but then you bring in some big guns and you get some credentialed experts in, and they kill agile because they give it a bad name, as we were talking about before. Um, People who are credentialed and they have certifications, but they don't they don't necessarily get it, or they think it's a process that you must follow. And some of these frameworks are kind of dressed up um, plan-based project approach, which is it's kind of old school, dressed up to look like agile. um, that sort of stuff gives agile a bad name, and then in those environments, agile is also dead. So agile is dead in two ways. Agile is dead because it's been crushed by the enterprise
hmm.
due to baggage. Agile is dead in some of the well-known amazing, like, if you look at the uh, Dow Jones 500 or whatever, it's been completely taken over by these tech companies, right? Apple, Netflix, um, I don't know, Twitter,
Amazon.
Amazon, yeah, definitely. Um, they have been using agile approaches for decades, and they have been successful for that reason. And to them, it could be said agile is dead because it's just the way they've been doing things. They don't even need to call it that anymore. It's just the way we work.
Yeah, well, it's yeah, almost like leadership. You know it when you see it. You don't have to call it that, and that's kind of a thing. Now I have rudely stomped on your last solo,
It's
so
fine.
I would have gotten kicked off the stage if we were on in a jazz trio, or after the fact, you would have beat me over the head with a hammer. So, is there anything else that you wanted to say about agile coaching or the dangerous conversation you want to have that you haven't said?
I think some people are in a kind of an identity crisis situation. Maybe some imposter syndrome as well.
Mm.
Um, and if the word agile has baggage, what do you what do you then do? Like, do you need to pivot? Do you need to find some sort of um, a sideways maneuver? Like move into something else, service design, product management, something else, in order to kind of rescue. I mean, You know, do you ride out the storm? You know, is it truly just a dark period where we will get through that storm and see sunshine on the other side? So I think there's a
Mm.
little bit of a I sense a kind of a crisis going on. I see a lot of I'm connected to a lot of professionals. I know people who are looking for gigs and contracts and work, and the market is terrible.
It is bleak. It's
And
yeah.
people don't want agile coaches. Maybe I don't. People don't want scrum masters. I don't know. Maybe it needs to go away, and we need to think about a different a different reality, a different paradigm.
Mm. Wow. Well, thank you, Greg. Again, I'm already sad because we're not going to have a whole another half hour after this to jam. But I will meet you in the green room, and I'll say ta to the folks out there here in a moment. So see you in a second, Greg. Thank
Thanks,
you for
everyone.
being here.
Yeah, good to be here.
So we are continuing to try and answer this question, or say this is an Agile Coach. The assertion. Greg made a great assertion today. And about the dangerous question, the dangerous invitation. Is it time to grieve the loss of Agile? Is it dying? Some people think so. I don't know. We'll find out. Thank you for the precious gift of your time and attention. I'm Ryan Erickson. See you later.